The State of Crypto is presented by Tron, connecting the world to the power of cryptocurrency.
So joining us now to discuss Elon Musk's reported takeover of Twitter, which seems, 99.9999% going to happen, is CoinDesk Global Policy and Regulation Managing Editor Nick Day, who's also the editor of CoinDesk State of Crypto newsletter. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning and happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you. So it looks like Chairman Musk, or rather CEO Musk, did I say Chairman Musk? Sorry for the reference, is cleaning house and purging a lot of what's going on in Twitter. There were a bunch of executives, including the CEO and the CFO, who were shown the door or seem to have left on their own accord, much like another former chairman that we know of a country. There was one in particular, though. There was the head counsel there at Twitter, who was also taken out. And she had an interesting role. Not only did she get rid of Donald Trump, but she also protected privacy. And this is a fairly controversial firing, correct?
Yeah. So I guess the quick recap is Elon Musk said seems to have indicated that he closed the deal last night. For what it's worth, I checked the SEC filings 5 minutes ago, and we actually still don't have anything official from the company itself on that. In his first move, Elon Musk seems to have decided he was going to take over as the CEO for a little bit. B, he did fire the CEO, the CFO, the general counsel, and the head of so not social. I forget her exact title, but you're right. He fired Vijaya Gadde, who, in addition to some of the policies we've seen, was responsible for defending the anonymity of Twitter's users in court. And quite a few individuals seem to think that this is perhaps a warning sign. Of course, Elon, I imagine he was not happy with the old leadership, given that they sued him and forced him to pay $44 billion to buy their company. So I wouldn't say the firings are a surprise necessarily, but given that we still don't actually know what his exact plans are or what he intends to do with the platform, including how he intends to defend his users should that need arise, or how he intends to protect free speech as he claims, whether that's going to involve letting users continue to post anonymously, or as he said when he first announced that he wanted to take over the platform, he wants to authenticate all the users. We don't know right now. So I think there does seem to be a fair amount of understandable concern that he might not be as willing to defend his users to some of the governments that Twitter does business with as his predecessors were. And they're looking at things like the fact that Elon wrote an article for China's cyberspace industry or government entity, which is responsible for censorship of certain platforms in the country. Just the fact that his other companies, Tesla and SpaceX, are kind of heavily dependent on government subsidies in pretty big ways. So there is quite a bit of concern as to just what this means.
Yeah, what is interesting is that obviously he's portraying it as a victory of free speech, and he's going to be allowing people to speak more. And yet he talks about the hellscape. He warned.
Well, he says it won't be a hellscape of free speech for a free for all.
Right, and that's for advertisers, correct? I mean, there is something for the advertisers there, and that's ultimately how this thing makes money. Advertisers are really concerned,
like they don't want things that they're associated with to turn into a controversy on Twitter.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know if either of you were on Tumblr back in the day.
Sadly,
I was quite active on Tumblr when I was in high school, and near the end, it kind of got very friendly towards let's say not safe for work content, which Twitter is now very friendly towards. A lot of advertisers were not happy with that when Verizon took over. You saw that content banned, right? Does that mean in his effort to make Twitter more friendly to advertisers, Elon's going to be looking at these kinds of concerns? again, this is kind of speculative at this point, but we just don't know, right? He's said he wants to make it friendlier to advertisers, but he doesn't want to let anyone say anything. So,
well, this goes to what Lawrence was saying about that executive who fired, or not fired Trump,
right.
but like stopped his account from going forward, and that executive was fired. So does this mean, Elon Musk is going to bring him back and, allow more of this kind of free-for-all free speech? He says there may be limits, but we don't know. And in his texts that were revealed in court filings, it seemed that, he was more in favor of allowing these controversial voices on the platform.
Exactly. And I mean, I don't know how to read into this, but when the announcements were happening last night, you saw a certain subsect of Twitter's users, immediately responding or quote tweeting to these announcements with, for lack of a better way to put it, racist terms, swear terms, like very derogatory, language. Is it because they felt that, okay, well, Elon Musk is pro free speech, therefore we can now be racist more publicly? And that seems to be the impression that he's given off. And we'll see if that remains, right? He actually hasn't, I think, at this point said publicly whether or not he intends to reverse the bans immediately. There was an anonymous source who told some news organizations last night that they would be unbanned immediately. Hasn't happened yet. So, but it's still, it's 9-10 a.m. on a Friday, the day he's supposed to close. So it could just be he hasn't gotten around to it yet.
Meanwhile, another crypto angle we have here is that Binance's CEO, Changpeng Zhao, CZ, is confirming that Binance is participating as an equity investor in Musk's Twitter takeover. So CZ tweet also telling CoinDesk that we're excited to be able to help Elon realize a new vision for Twitter. We aim to play a role in bringing social media and Web3 together in order to broaden the use and adoption of crypto and blockchain technology. Any further insights into that, Nick?
Nope. We'll see how it goes. I mean, Binance put in $500 billion toward a $44 billion buyout. I can't imagine that's given them a lot of equity here, right? So we know Elon seems to be in crypto mostly for the memes. How that's going to translate into a vision for Web3, I don't know.
So this is, in many ways, though, this is kind of a controversial buy, or rather a risky buy, because the Supreme Court is going to be looking at whether or not social media companies are ultimately responsible for what's on their platforms, correct? So, I mean, and we don't know exactly how this court might view this. I mean, this could easily be a $44 billion money pit for Musk and crew, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And what's really funny is, so Musk didn't put up the entirety of the funding. Binance put up a little bit. We've had, some of the major banks in the country put up, I think, about 13 billion or so combined overall of the total buyout. So, how are they going to either sell this equity or recoup their, expenditure? Because who's going to buy it right now? And yeah, you're right. Supreme Court might rule and decide, okay, well, sure, Twitter is responsible for content on its platform. And in which case, if people are going after anonymous users for, let's say standing up to authoritarian governments, or alternatively, if people are going after anonymous users for being extremely racist and derogatory, who's going to have to, go into court, and who's going to try and defend that?
Well, there's also the, even more mundane things, if you will, like, for instance, threats, small threats that happen on Twitter. I mean, we see this a lot in American high schools where people are first intimidated on Twitter and provoked into violence, and that could potentially spill over and, blaming the platform for allowing that to happen. And in which case it could become legally liable from parents and victims, let's say, to sue. And that's what we're seeing right now with Facebook, right? The Supreme Court case involves the shooting in France and whether or not Facebook is responsible for allowing extremist content, which ultimately led to a crime happening in hundreds of people, dozens, over 100 people losing their lives to such things. So what, this ultimately could incredibly change the landscape of social media in the world.
Yeah, it's a very, I don't know if interesting is the right way to put it. It's a very tumultuous time for social media companies. For the first, 10 years or so of Facebook and Twitter and them, there wasn't really any focus on how these companies and these platforms would be regulated. And even now there's this intense focus on it, but no one's actually, passed anything. There's no real, regulatory entity responsible, which fair enough, right? I don't know if we'd want a regulatory entity responsible for speech on the internet, but it is true also that this lack of, guidance or whatever has led to this position where, the Supreme Court, which is composed of 9 individuals who I'm not sure are even on Twitter, possibly creating a very, comprehensive rule for it, or rule book for it.
Would be weird if Ginny Thomas's. Would be weird if they get in trouble for some of Ginny Thomas's friends. The irony.
Also, just want to mention, amid all this excitement and takeover news, Dogecoin is soaring right now, really pumping up there. Of course, Elon Musk is a fan of Dogecoin, his preferred token. So interesting to see that. He's also floated the idea of using Dogecoin on Twitter, potentially as some sort of payments or tipping mechanism on the platform. Another point I want to make is, so CZ is in this deal, Binance is in this deal. If we recall the personal text from Elon Musk, Sam Bankman-Fried, the CEO of FTX, seemed really eager to get in on the deal. And I'm very curious. He was introed by 3 different people. And in the end, he finally texted Elon Musk. And Elon was like, who is this? So I'm really curious if he ever got in on the deal.
I haven't seen or heard anything to suggest that Sam Bankman-Fried is involved in the deal. I have nothing. Honestly, right. I don't even know if we have a full list of the. It'd be interesting.
Celebrities. Crypto celebrities.
Again, what's really interesting to me is that we still don't actually have official confirmation from the company itself, from Twitter itself, saying, "Hey, by the way, this deal has definitely closed. Here's the Edgar filing saying, whatever." All we have so far is the NYSE Stock Exchange saying, "All right, we're going to delist Twitter soon because it looks like it's going private." And that is the closest thing we have to official confirmation at this point, as far as I can tell.
Yeah. But Lawrence, crypto personalities, Binance, with the CZ, he got in the list, but I guess, but it's still just dumb luck, I think. Okay. All right, we'll wrap it there.
Come on, he was dating Grimes. Real celebrities, not, crypto celebrities.